Well, what is unfolding at our Indian airports, particularly in the national capital and even other airports and in the aviation sector, is nothing short of any flyer's nightmare. And definitely not just the flyer's nightmare, it could be so many other aspects connected to it. Flyers from Delhi airport talking about being stranded for anywhere between 6 to 8 hours, either inside the plane or at aerodromes without any information, no refreshments. Imagine among these passengers obviously would be parents with small children, with infants. There would also be parents with toddlers around. There would be senior citizens. Remember, that's the profile of people who take planes as well. These are not people just young people or the middle-aged people. It's a plethora of dimensions involved. There have been people who've taken to social media talking about waiting for anywhere between 3 to 4 hours after deboarding a flight just to be able to connect or collect their baggage. Remember, this isn't a one-off case. Over the last several days, even in the end of December, fog, severe cold had led to massive delays, waiting and cancellations. Amid all of this, another shocking incident has also unfolded. But even before we go into that, a reminder to our viewers, you could reach out to us. We will be your voice. You can share your experiences and we will help your voice reach the aviation sector, the aviation minister, and hopefully things will change. They at least have to. Well, returning to what has been a shocking incident unfolding where a flyer assaulted a pilot, and this was caught on record. Unacceptable by all means, and the flyer has been booked after the pilot filed a complaint. Rightly so. But what about the flip side? Who does one file a case against for absolutely inordinate delays? No excuse is acceptable, particularly for poor communication. That's the least one would expect after shelling out the kind of money that one does to fly anywhere in India or from India anywhere abroad. Whom should we really hold accountable for this entire disaster? Well, now the aviation minister has put out a response as well. Jyotiraditya Scindia has spoken of unprecedented fog and visibility dropping to almost zero, detailing steps that have been now taken. An SOP to be issued by the Director General of Civil Aviation for better communication to passengers. DGCA has been asked to immediately expedite the operationalization of the Cat 3 enabled fourth runway. Right. And I'm being joined right now by Isha Palawat. Is it Isha with us right now? All right. I'm being joined by Mahesh Palawat. Mr. Mahesh, your daughter, Isha Palawat, was also one of those who were very severely affected. Could you tell us what happened with your daughter, or is she around? Can we speak to her as well?
Actually, she was about to return from Mumbai to Delhi in Indigo flight, and flight was delayed, and she will be able to tell the exact incident.
Hello.
Yes, if you could speak to her, sir.
Hi.
Happened with you? Where were you flying from and to where? And what happened?
Yeah, so I was flying from Mumbai to Delhi, and my flight was originally scheduled for 2 p.m. But it was getting delayed back to back, and finally we were able to get started from Mumbai at 9:30 p.m. and the flight finally departed at 10 p.m.
Right.
Hello,
So, Isha, you're saying a flight that was supposed to take off at 2 o'clock actually took off by 9:30, 10 o'clock in the night. So, we are talking about a huge delay. But was this communication made to you regularly? Were you told that X number of hours are going to be delayed, or there was no communication, or there was communication every 1 hour? What was the kind of communication you got?
Yeah, so I was getting constant emails from the Indigo that the flight is delayed to 4 p.m. and then 7 p.m. And finally, I got a mail that the flight will be at 9:30 p.m. And I reached the airport on time, and then finally it took off at 10 p.m.
Yes. Right. Thank you very much, Isha. Mahesh Palawat, of course, linked to SkyMet. Thank you, sir, for joining us with your daughter. Appreciate all of this. Samir joins us right now. Samir, tell us what is the situation right now at the airports, particularly in the national capital. We've just had a caller, Isha Palawat, speak to us about the inordinate delays that she had to go through just about yesterday from Mumbai to Delhi. What is the situation right now?
So the flight operations continues to remain impacted because of the dense fog condition. If you see, that's a cascading effect in the sense that the flights, those were delayed earlier in the early hours, that will impact the other flight operations as well. The schedule is totally disturbed. It gets delays. That is the current situation. But the other impact that you also see is that after the aviation minister Jyotiraditya Scindia stepped in and he issued instructions to the concerned stakeholders, whether it be Delhi Airport, whether it be airlines or the regulatory body DGCA, the biggest difference that you see is that now airlines are disseminating the information to the passengers in a very proactively manner. Earlier, this sort of activity was just restricted to social media. Now the airlines they understand that the situation is quite serious, and the passengers, they are now opting to social media. They are now raising their voice, and the situation, this is definitely going to hurt the brand image as well. So now airlines, they are proactively reaching out to the passengers,
Right.
informing them about the flight delay or when the flight will take off or land. So these sort of, which is very much essential information that is being now passed on to the passenger. But if you talk about the flight delay
Samir?
aspect, that remains,
Samir,
that continues to
Samir,
be
we'll
there,
come
because in the
back to you,
last 2
Samir.
days.
I'm sorry, we are also being joined by callers. Allow me to get back to you, Samir. We have callers online and we'll get back to you the moment we're done with this. Mr. Gill joins us right now from Chandigarh. Mr. Gill, thank you for calling in. I believe your wife is right now stranded in some airport. Please give us the details.
Yeah, ma'am, my wife Kamaldeep Gill is at the moment in Goa Airport. She's already 24 hours late. She was supposed to fly out yesterday. And now she has to come back to Chandigarh via Bombay. The problem is that their entire system is not working. The application gets stuck. If you try to make a boarding pass, the calendar is stuck. If you go on the website, the seat system is jumbled. The payment system gets jumbled. Their systems have collapsed. The call center, it took me about 5 hours to reschedule the flight yesterday. And after all this pain, today she was supposed to fly out at 16:05. It's already 18:10. They are postponing the flight by 30 minutes, 35 minutes, 35. And she is most likely going to be in problem with the connecting flight from Bombay to Chandigarh. This is the kind of problem that we are facing. Short duration
Mr. Gill,
postponement
I'm
to
sorry
solve
to
because of
ask you
probably
one question. It's a personal question. But would you be able to tell me the rough age? Is your what's the age profile of your wife? Is she in her 30s, 40s, 50s? If you could tell us.
my wife is 65. She's traveling with my sister-in-law who is also 65.
Absolutely unfortunate. These are two senior citizens who have been stranded for almost 24 hours, and this is a husband who is calling us and just telling us what a situation it has been. Thank you for drawing our attention, and we really hope the ministry is listening to all of these things, because a minister has been put in his post and bureaucrats are supposed to be serving the people. This definitely is not the service India requires or India demands. I'm also being, thank you, sir. Thank you, Mr. Gill, for joining us. I'm also being joined right now by Mr. Stephen from Mumbai. Please tell us what you have to share.
It's very simple as I'm listening to you. It is simple. Communications, 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 and not piecemeal communications. You don't give us piecemeal. The flight will take off in 30 minutes, keep us waiting, and then another 30 minutes, and it becomes hours and then days. And imagine the people who are waiting for you at the airport to receive you. You see, you are impacting a lot of people. If my flight is supposed to leave at 7:40 in the morning, so naturally my folks will be waiting for me at the airport at the other end. So you are punishing everybody. And I listened to one of your listeners who said that her flight was delayed in Bombay. Now, there's nothing wrong with the weather. The weather is absolutely no excuse. So why are the airline not telling us what exactly is the problem? Do you have less crew? You don't have a flight or another
Stephen, do
flight
you
is
have
delayed?
any family member who is right now stuck? Are you stuck somewhere? Are you trying to travel during this period? I'm just trying to understand.
Thankfully, I don't sit on tarmac shoveling snow, and I don't take these flights. The airport should shut down,
Well, Stephen, thank you so much for joining us. Of course, you're a worried citizen. You're a tax-paying citizen. So fair enough, your voice is very important. Thank you for joining us, sir. Vipin Chib joins us right now from Noida. Please share, sir. What do you have to share?
Yeah, good evening to you and to all the viewers. I had to take a flight a few days back from Delhi to Visakhapatnam, and I had to go via Hyderabad. And I faced a similar problem. I have two questions to ask. That you see, the airlines always board the pilots, board the aircraft, and all the passengers board the aircraft, and they lock the doors. And then the announcement is made, now the flight is delayed by 1 hour or 2 hours or whatever time it is. You see, why can't we be in the Bay Area so that at least we have a place to move around? And I'm sure our meteorological department is not so incompetent as to predict when the fog is going to lift. And secondly, they must understand that the connecting flight, you miss your connecting flight from Hyderabad, and then half the time your baggage gets lost. And then you are at your destination waiting for 2 days or 3 days waiting for your baggage to come. I've experienced this just about 2 weeks back, and it's really disheartening. Though, of course, I don't pardon the passenger who behaved with the pilot the way he did. I mean, there is no excuse for
Certainly.
that.
Mr. Vipin, as a passenger, when you listen to what the aviation minister has said today, that it was unprecedented fog. And now the DGCA is going to take some steps. They've been ordered to take some steps. What are your initial remarks?
No, I disagree with him. At this time of the year, every year it's the same problem in Delhi. It is not that only this time it has happened. Every year during the winters it happens.
Right.
Why can't the airlines reschedule their flights or they change their timetable accordingly?
All right. Okay, thank you very much, Vipin. We really appreciate all the callers who have called in. We will be ensuring that we tag the minister, the ministry, so that your voices can reach them. They definitely have to be answered because they have been elected by people like you and I. I'm meanwhile also please feel free to call if at all you have to call. Even as we go further in the discussion, we will patch your lines. I'm being joined right now by Mr. Devesh Agrawal, who is a chief analyst for BangalorianAviation.com, as well as Captain Kishore Chinta, CEO and chief pilot for the MSOS Aviation Private Limited. Thank you very much, both of you, for joining us. Well, first to you, Mr. Captain Kishore Chinta. Let me just try and understand what the minister has spoken today. Minister has given out a detail saying it has been unprecedented fog and they had to shut down operations as visibility reached zero as well. That's the first part of his statement. We will try and break down the other statements as well. But coming to the first point, as a layperson, fog and dense fog and the extent of dense fog is not new to Delhi or the north of India. Zero or not zero may be unprecedented. What is your take as a captain?
Well, fog in this season is never unprecedented. There is enough prediction. There is enough advance notice through the Met Department for you to take due cognizance about the upcoming drop in visibility. At least 12 hours in advance, you will easily know what is going to be the trend. There is a TAF issued, which is a prediction for the next 12 hours or the 6 hours, what is going to be the weather. So there's no way that it's going to be unprecedented per se. Fog to lift, the two major factors you need is temperature rise as well as some form of wind. The only two ways the fog can rise. So if there is very low wind speed and the temperatures are continuing to be low, there's no way the fog is going to lift. So I would say yes. Yesterday per se was a situation where the rate at which the fog lifted up was much slower than on an average day. So that probably caused a cascading effect from pilot's point of view. But yes, we are always prepared from pilot's point of view, where
All right.
we are ready.
Okay.
We do inform our
There's more
clients and
sides to
passengers
this, sir. We'll
on
just
the.
get back to you, but let me also get in the introductory remarks from Mr. Devesh Agrawal. Mr. Devesh Agrawal, the crux of this entire issue and the mayhem anarchy that is unfolding inside the airports, inside the aircrafts, in fact, with the pilots and the air crew also being at the receiving end, wrongly so, that's not acceptable. But the crux of this matter really is a very simple thing: communication, the lack of it, which is a right of any flyer and which should be a duty of any airline. This is not rocket science.
Hi, good evening, Sneha. Firstly, hi from Taipei. Hey, Kishore, nice to see you on the show. Thank you so much for giving me a chance. As Kishore said, it is known. The problem or the crux of the matter is that everybody is responsible in this mess. The government doesn't have a policy. If it does have a limited policy, there is something called the passenger charter. But that passenger charter seems to have been written for the airlines just to provide, a semblance of, oh, yes, we have something to protect passengers. But in reality, every form of exemption and exception is given to the airline. There also and this is a
Okay,
government
no, Mr.
document.
Devesh, let me just
Let me
reiterate
please,
my question. It's a very
let me
specific thing.
please let
I
me
understand
finish.
you're bringing the charter. Let me just, okay. Okay, no, I'm coming to you only. I'm asking you a question only, Devesh, sir. I
I
just
was going
wanted
to
to
lay out the
understand,
whole thing.
as you're talking
Yeah.
about the charter. Yes, go ahead, go ahead, go ahead, go
See,
ahead.
why do the airlines not communicate? Because they're not required to communicate. There is no penalty if they do not communicate. If they do communicate in time, then they become liable to pay compensation. If they don't communicate on time, they say, we're going to leave in next 2 minutes, 2 hours. We're going to leave in next 1 hour. It just becomes slowly rolling. Sir, what could we
I
do? This
see.
was just a situation. So that is an effect of that policy. Also, yesterday I was reading, the Delhi airport says a crane got erected by the NHI disturbing the localizer. Okay. Firstly, that sounds a little tough. I mean, Captain will be probably a better judge of the technical elements there. But they say the issue was so urgent that we have written a letter to NHAI. I mean, can you believe that story? Does it even sound remotely believable? So what a pilot cannot take off without an airline, or rather an airport having infrastructure. Delhi Airport is already supposed to have 2 runways which are Cat 3B enabled. We are paying for it. They have billed us for it. It is there in the form of the UDF. My question is, why is that infrastructure not available when we are paying for it? Who is going to be responsible for this? That passenger who has committed
Right.
this ultimate
Okay.
atrocity, you can never assault a air crew. The He is going to be put on a no-fly list.
Certainly.
Who is responsible for that no-fly list? Who is maintaining that no-fly list? Who shares that no-fly list with airlines? At least I have never seen a copy of it around anywhere. So I mean, it is a mess where all of us are responsible. One of your
Okay.
callers said, "Oh, there's a problem. There is no weather issue in Bombay." Well, the flight has to come from Delhi, no, in order to go back. How is it going to land in Bombay if the weather may be great here? The weather is not great in Delhi. Flip side, the weather may be great in Bombay. If there's no good
Right.
weather in Delhi, what is the point of taking the flight to Delhi if it's not going to be able to land? So we also,
Okay.
as
All
passengers,
right.
have to be a
Let me
bit
just
realistic.
get in Mr. Kish.
Yeah.
Right. Thank you so much, Mr. Devesh. Let me also get in Mr. Kishore, Captain Kishore at this point. Captain Kishore, there are two questions that I have to ask you. One, again, what I asked Mr. Devesh, I just have to reiterate and just try and understand. The minister has right now said, it just sounds, and with all due respect to the minister, to Mr. Sindhia, if there is an SOP that can be laid down for proper communication to passengers, why today is this being told to the DGCA? Why today? Why can't these SOPs be done before? If you could quickly answer this, I have another question.
Okay, to be fair to the minister as well as DGCA, you cannot ask DGCA to be a cop for the airlines. They meant to be the regulator. They meant to make the rules. They meant to ensure that the rules are followed. Here, we are eventually asking the DGCA to be a cop for what the airlines are supposed to follow. Over and above, we asking the DGCA to make an SOP which an airline should have made for its service to the passengers. It is the duty of the airline to provide the service to the passengers, the fare-paying passengers. What to elaborate on what Devesh said? Yes, Delhi is supposed to have 3 Cat 3 enabled runways: runway 28, runway 29 left, and 11 right. Okay, at any point of time, there should have been 2 Cat 3 enabled runways. Now, unfortunately, runway 1028 went under repairs just ahead of the winter season. Reasons for that is best known to the airport authorities. Why they chose to get that runway into repairs, maybe it was unavoidable. They would know. It is not on the public domain why they chose to get the mainstay runway 28 or 10 for repairs, which is Cat 3 enabled, which leaves us with only one runway, which is either 29 left or 11 right, the basically reciprocal, which is Cat 3 enabled. That brings us down to one Cat 3 enabled runway for Delhi at any point of time if there is bad visibility. So that is where the cookie crumbles. At any point of time, the airport authority has done a fabulous job. They've issued a SOP to their own air traffic controllers on how to handle fog delays. They've been doing a fabulous job, but if the airlines do not follow the SOPs which have been issued to them, which is a calculated takeoff time, world over, if there is a calculated takeoff time, the pilots are not supposed to ask for a delivery clearance on the CPDLC or on the delivery clearance at least 15 minutes prior.
All right.
Nothing more than that. Here we have the moment the visibility improves. Yesterday there was a situation where 130 aircraft were asking for startup clearance. That is unprecedented. That is basically indiscipline by the airline, which is caused a cascading effect.
Okay.
So at any point of time during the peak hours with 3 runways in utilization, 0927, 11 left, right, and 11 right, 29 left, the arrival and departures as predicted by airport authority is 73. It is documented. All airlines have been briefed. That means on the average 35 to 40 arrivals and departures. In fog situations, when low visibility procedures are in progress,
thank you for explaining that to us, Captain.
The runway occupancy times is increased, which leads to a cascading effect.
Okay. All right. I'm left with time for only one more question, Mr. Devesh Agrawal. With what happened in December, DGCA wrote a letter asking an explanation from certain airlines. They apparently were not, their captains that were flying those aircrafts were not trained enough for minimal or poor visibility. Again, CAT compliance related. That became an issue for the December delays that seem to have happened. Now, another set of delays, massive chaos has unfolded. We don't know what letters will now follow from the DGCA or the minister, which frankly it should. But can India ensure that this does not unfold in 2024 winters?
Ma'am, it is very easy. India has got the infrastructure, it has got the latest aircraft. It has only, what does it not have is a focus right from the top down.
What is the problem? If you're saying it's easy, what is so difficult? Why is the government not able to do it?
It requires somebody like the minister to turn around and tell all the airlines that if you're going to be indisciplined, we are going to slap you silly. You have got an airline based out of Delhi that has less than half its fleet operating. Yet it files a winter schedule which is based on full capacity of its fleet, and the DGCA blindly accepts it. Who is ultimately, Kishore is right, the DGCA cannot afford to be a cop, but the DGCA is the one that has to set the rules and say, these are the rules cast in stone. You cross this line of death, you will die. Who is holding these airlines responsible? The minister says, yeah, I'm going to write to the DGC. I'm going to issue the SOPs. The same thing we heard in December. Why has it occurred again in the month of January? The thing is that I'm very sorry to say we the public, we have got a short-term memory. 3 days later, this whole thing will get forgotten. till we don't put consistent pressure on the minister, on the regulator, on the airlines, and the airlines are not going to listen unless their my baps turn around and, sorry to use the word be, slap them around. I'm sorry, I can't elaborate on the word be, but that's what till the airlines are not slapped into shape by being told, this are
All
the
right.
rules, this is what you have to follow, end of story. And if you can't do it, if you're not disciplined enough to do it, please don't fly. We are not going to accept their schedule. Cut down their schedule.
Right.
Make them hit and hurt in their pocketbooks. That is the only way they will listen. You can't blame the pilots. You can't blame the ground
Right.
crew. They are ultimately responsible to their employers. And if their employers are pushing them to
Okay.
do everything, hey, they have to keep their jobs. I'm very sorry. We are the ones who have to force change
All
from
right.
the top down in this case. I'm very sorry to say that.
Okay. All right. Thank you very much, Mr. Devesh Agrawal, as well as Captain Kishore Chinta, to join us, to add perspectives, to bring in some very critical viewpoints.